Hey there, guys. We are going to do Acts. Acts? Come on. We're not in the book of Acts anymore. We're going to do Psalms. We did the book of Acts for so long, didn't we?
Most of my notebook is
so Acts. Much in Acts. We're going to do Psalm 2 today. Going to do Psalm 2. Now, my plan is not to do every single Psalm. So just because we did Psalm 1 and now we're doing Psalm 2, that doesn't mean we're going to do Psalm 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You can read through and you can draw some pictures from it. That's one of the big points of this Bible class, is that you get your pencil and your paper and your colors ready if you want to use colors, and you try to draw what we're reading or what you hear in your own Bible class, things like that. I've seen some of you guys have notes from other things too, and you're doing a good job at using this drawing note-taking skill and moving forward. So that's pretty cool. We will do Psalm 2 today, and then I don't know which Psalm I'm going to jump to next, but we'll hop all over the book of Psalms, and that will be fun. All right, we're going to look at Psalm number 2.
Page left in my book, so
Nice. Okay, so here we are with Psalm 2. This is, again, it's not very long. See, it's just 12 verses long. This is not a long one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read through Psalm 2, then we'll talk about it and draw it. If you want to start drawing while I'm reading, you can, or if you just want to try to read along or even just listen. Because here's one of the things, this is a poem. This is supposed to be listened to and read out loud and to be thinking about, okay? Here we go, Psalm 2. Why do the nations rage and the peoples imagine a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, let us break their bands asunder and cast away their cords from us. He that sits in the heavens shall laugh. The Lord shall have them in derision. Then shall he speak unto them in his wrath and vex them in his sore displeasure. Yet I have set my king upon my holy hill of Zion. I will tell of the decree. The Lord said unto me, thou art my son. This day have I begotten thee. Ask of me, and I will give thee the nations for your inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth for your possession. You shall break them with a rod of iron. You shall dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel. Now therefore be wise, O ye kings. Be instructed, ye judges of the earth. Serve the Lord with fear and rejoice with trembling. Kiss the Son, lest he be angry and you perish in the way, for his wrath will soon be kindled. Blessed are all they that put their trust in him. What does this psalm sound like to you? Think about it for a little bit. What does it sound like? Alice?
I think it sounds like the people who believe in God are asking God why they are like going against them.
Why there's some people going against them? Going against who? Going against God's people or going against God, do you think?
God and his people.
Going against God and his people. I think that's right. That's a big part of this psalm. Any other thoughts, guys? Does it sound happy? Does it sound scary? Does it sound beautiful? Does it sound spooky?
I think it sounds beautiful, happy, and not scary. Good, and a bit.
Okay, so the kids at this table are saying it's sounding happy and scary at the same time. Do you guys have any other thoughts? What did it sound like to you?
So I think it sounds kind of scary and stuff, but it actually sounds kind of like, yay, the time has come, or something like exciting, but kind of scary. Kind of like when you're watching a scary movie, like it's interesting, but you're getting scared at the same time.
Okay, that's a neat comparison. I like that connection. This is weird. We just read a poem and we're saying it's happy and scary. It's exciting and spooky at the same time. Isn't it interesting that it can have all of those different, almost opposite feelings at the same time?
No.
Isn't that fun? All right. Well, we're going to start looking at some of the parts of it. Whenever we read these Psalms, this is something I'm going to do. I'll read through the whole Psalm, unless it's super long. Maybe we'll have to do little parts. And then I'm going to ask you, what did that sound like? And so when we're reading through a Psalm, you can be saying what you think it sounds like or thinking about what it sounds like. If I'm talking about a verse and you want to say, ooh, that sounds like, you can say that. You're allowed to interrupt me. Within me. Okay, so it begins with this question. Why do the nations rage and the peoples imagine a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, and then they're going to say some things. So let's draw this. Okay, so what we have, who are the people in this psalm? There's nations that are raging. There's peoples that are imagining things that are vain or foolish. There's kings and there are rulers. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw like kings and rulers because they will represent all the peoples.
What I'm going to do is for when it says, why do the nations rage? I'm going to draw the people raging and then a question mark above them because they don't even.
Oh, that's a good idea. Put a question mark. I'm going to do the question mark idea too. So here's the king and he's got a fist, right? And I'll give him two fists just to show you just how ragey he is. Oh, some reason he's got a big fat back, so I'll straighten that cloak out. There we go. And he's got the decorative kingy stuff, right? Kind of got duck feet. All right, so he is raging, and the peoples are raging with him, and the rulers are raging. So I'll just draw another ruler here. He's got big hair, and he is upset. He's got an open hand. All right, so they are raging. And the question is, why are they doing it? So we're going to put a question mark over them. I think that's a good idea that you had. Why are the people doing this is the question. And they're raging against the Lord. Is that wise?
No.
No, I'm going to put oops. Like, that's a bad idea, right? They're raging against the Lord and they're raging against his anointed. What does it mean, his anointed? It'd be like saying his anointed one. Who is God's anointed one?
His people, just Christians, and the people who worship him.
Not the people as much. That's a good guess. It becomes that. But somebody said, yeah. But before Jesus was the anointed one, which is what the word Messiah means, which is what the word Christ means. Was there other people in the Bible who were anointed?
Yeah, like
David. The kings were anointed. Now, other people were anointed too. They anointed priests. If something special was going on, you could be anointed. But often when you use the word anointed, especially in the Psalms, it's talking about a king. So they're raging against the Lord and probably his king. Okay, and what are they saying against the Lord and his king? Let us break their bands asunder. Jack, what does your translation say in verse 3? Psalm 2, verse 3.
It says, burst their bonds apart.
Their bonds.
Cast their cords away.
And cast away their cords. So you know what their bands or their bonds or their cords are? These guys think they're in handcuffs. They're bonds, they got chains, right? That's what they're complaining about. They're saying that God and his king have chained them up. Here is a question. Don't answer this like whether it literally happened to a king or not, because the psalm is supposed to be poetry and uses these as images. Does it sound like God puts kings in chains very often?
No.
I think you're right. I don't think it happens very often. But do you think that sometimes people think, God's tied me up. He won't let me do what I want to do?
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
My mom won't let me drink from the toilet. It feels like she's tied my hands behind my back and I can't do anything. I'm in jail. Why won't she let me drink from the toilet? Okay. It's probably because she's a good mom, right? Is the rule don't drink from the toilet an angry mom rule? Oh, moms are the worst. Oh. No, good rule. It's a good rule. So do you think the rules that God gives the peoples and the kings are because God is such an angry, mean guy?
No.
So the kings are raging. Why won't God let us? Well, we'll use the drink from the toilet thing. We know God didn't make that rule, but you get the idea. We want to do terrible things. Does God want to let them? No. And so they say, let's break them apart. So that's what they want to do, okay? And now it's almost, I'm going to draw a line. If you have it, you don't have to do that. But it's almost like this is another little section, okay? Now listen to this. He that sits in the heavens shall laugh. The Lord shall have them in derision. Then he shall speak to them in wrath and vex them in his sore displeasure. Yet I have set my king upon my holy hill of Zion. All right, and we'll stop there. I'm going to do a little bit of a tiny line to break. Okay, so here are the kings, and what do kings usually stand on? The floor, right?
Yeah.
They don't stand on farmer fields. They don't usually stand where the cows make messes. They stand on nice, clean things, right? I'm drawing a nice floor. I think farming is all that great, but do you think a king wants to go by all the farming junks? No. Well, who is this person who is sitting? He sitteth in the heavens.
God.
That's God. Oh, I won't go stand in a field, says a king. Where does God sit? Even higher
the
up.
Heavens.
So, here's the cloud.
To jump above.
There's the clouds, okay? And what's he doing? Is he standing on them?
No.
He's sitting on the clouds, right? I'm going to go ahead. When we did this in Revelation and in other times, we drew a throne. So I'm just going to do that so that we have some continuity.
Draw him sitting with his legs over the edge and kicking them on their heads.
That's not a bad idea for the way this psalm works.
I thought it would be funny if he was.
I've changed it. That's a good idea. What were you going to say, Jack?
I thought it would be funny if he was lounging on them.
Lounging on the clouds. So here is God. He's got his hand here. Sitting. So there's his garment. And he's got his feet here, right? I'll even draw 1 foot ready to kick. All right, so there's God. And he's just kind of sitting on the clouds. Does that picture kind of work?
Yeah.
Actually, it kind of looks like it's messed up. Hold on.
Draw him a clown.
All right, so there's the cloud. And to make it look a little different from him, I'm going to put sometimes clouds have a little bit of blue shadow on them. So I'm going to draw a blue shadow on the clouds. I don't know if that's going to come through very much. There it is. He's sitting on the clouds. Okay, and there's light because he's God, right? It doesn't say it in the psalm, but for the picture. That's how I always try to draw God. I don't know what his face looks like, so I just leave it like this.
You could do the rainbow crown in Revelation.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I could do the emerald rainbow, right?
The crown.
Yeah.
What about a crown?
All right. Well, there's just too much to draw. I mean, we just know so. Okay, but what does God do? Okay, God, he who sits in the heavens shall what?
Laugh.
Laugh. The Lord shall have them in derision. That's another word for laugh. He's going to scoff and laugh at them. Then he shall speak. So first he's going to laugh, right? Then he's going to speak unto them in his wrath and vex them in his sore displeasure. Yet I have set my king upon my holy hill of Zion. Yeah?
What does vex mean?
To vex means to cause trouble or to upset somebody.
Oh.
When God judges you and brings trouble on you, it's very vexing. Does that make sense?
Oh. Yeah.
And so what's he doing? The first thing that it says that he does is what?
Laugh.
He's laughing.
You could do ho, ho, ho.
So why do you think, what does it mean that God's laughing?
He's laughing at.
Wow, that was a great joke, you guys.
No.
He's laughing.
They're just
Because like the people are so foolish. He's just like, you guys.
You guys can't stand against me.
You know,
Crazy guys.
Kind of like Maleficent.
yeah, I mean, here's these little guys down here, and they're angry and raging, right? And he's just up there laughing at them.
The funny thing is, I can just imagine it's just like the people at the bottom going, but it's like God at the top just laughing at them. Just like it's like they're squeaking like a little mouse. What? And he's like the king. Please,
And then it says he's going to speak to them in his wrath and vex them in his sore displeasure. So first he's going to laugh. Then he's going to speak in wrath. When God speaks in wrath, does that mean he says things like, isn't the sky beautiful today?
No.
No, it means he's like yelling at them.
Judgment and yelling, right? And he's going to vex them in his sore displeasure. And I think one of the things that he says is, yet I have set my king upon my holy hill of Zion. So I'm going to say that that's the third thing he does here. He's going to set my king. Who is God's king?
Jesus.
I think that that's right. Does that mean that Jesus is king on top of God?
No, it means he made
Yeah.
him so he could rule.
Right.
Him.
God made Jesus to be the king. So God made him king, but God is still above that king, right?
yeah.
Okay.
Well, they're basically like together. They have the same amount of power. They're like
Yeah, I think
together.
that's a good way of thinking about it. And so here are these guys raging down here. And God laughs at them and speaks in wrath at them and says, I am setting my king. Are they kings?
No, they're just
Yeah.
little
Well, they are kings, but they're kings.
They're world.
Earthly kings.
Yeah.
Yeah,
False
world.
kings.
When God sets his king, how does God's king compare to them?
They're just little squeaky mouses.
Yeah. All right, let's see what happens in the rest of the psalm now. I have set my king upon my holy hill of Zion. I will tell of the decree. The Lord said unto me, you are my son. This day I have begotten thee. Ask of me, and I will give you the nations for your inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth for your possession. You shall break them with the rod of iron. You shall dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel. And we'll stop there. This is an interesting part. Have you ever heard some of these lines before? Do these words sound familiar, maybe? Begotten son?
Yeah, definitely.
Like the begotten word? Or you are my son, this day I have begotten thee. Have you ever heard that before?
Yes,
When? What does that remind you
John
of?
3:16.
Say what?
In John 3:16.
That can work. I hadn't thought about that connection. John 3:16. When did Jesus say that? Or when did God ever say, you are my son, today I have begotten thee?
When Jesus was baptized.
When Jesus was baptized. And he didn't say these exact words, but does it sound familiar? In John 3:16, it says, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. So there's lots of connections here. And so we can see, I'm going to draw Jesus king, okay? Here's Jesus, and he's going to have a crown. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stick him in water because it reminds me of the baptism and that phrase, only begotten son, right?
also it's kind of like the when Jesus has one foot in the water and one foot on land.
Ooh, that's a
Yeah,
neat
I remember
connection in the book of Revelation. That's a neat connection. I hadn't thought of that. That's what's really cool about Psalms, guys, is that the Psalms start showing up everywhere in the Bible. Here's the other thing. The Lord said to who?
Me.
So who is talking right now?
God.
Jesus.
In the Psalm, inside the Psalm, it's Jesus. The Lord said unto me, and we're saying that this is Jesus, right? Now, it doesn't say that David wrote this Psalm, but I think it's a David Psalm. But in it, in the middle of the Psalm, whether David wrote it or somebody else, the person speaks for Jesus long before Jesus was born. Isn't that a neat idea?
Yeah.
Cool. It shows up in the book of Acts a couple times. It shows up in Hebrews, this idea right here. This is so cool. All right, so he is made to be king, right? And what else does God say? Ask of me and I will give you the nations for your inheritance. Didn't we talk about the nations?
Mm-hmm. They're raging.
The nations are raging. I'm going to draw a line down to connect them. The nations up here are raging, but the nations down here are what? They're a present. They might rage, but God can give Jesus the nations like a present. Wow. I will give you the nations for your inheritance, the uttermost parts of the earth for your possession. You know what Jesus can get for a present from God?
The world.
The world. You know, there's that fun song, he's got the whole world in his hand, right?
That's shown up before.
That's kind of this idea, right? So this is who has power in this psalm? The nations?
No.
Not the nations, but God, right? You shall break them with a rod of iron. You shall dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel. Whoa. What does Jesus have the power to do?
Break and smash them.
Into pieces.
That is power. That is power, right? So you can draw a rod.
Dan,
What was that?
Mr.
Mm-hmm.
Also, power, he says, I wish, some point he says, I wish it would be better for them to have a millstone tied around their neck and be thrown into the water.
Yeah, that's a neat connection from Jesus, right? Because Jesus knows exactly what the judgment is, right? Speaking in my wrath, Jesus says you'd be better off with a millstone around your neck than to deal with the wrath, because Jesus is going to be given the rod of iron to judge. The rod of iron shows up in the book of Revelation. Can't remember exactly where, but it talks about how Jesus has the rod of iron.
Sure what it was. There's about when Jesus was a baby or something, and he had the staff.
Yeah.
Rod or staff.
Right. That sounds right.
Scepter, maybe.
All right. Well, let's read some more. That's a really good connection. You guys are getting really good at making connections throughout the whole Bible. Now, therefore, be wise, O ye kings. Be instructed, you judges of the earth. Serve the Lord with fear and rejoice with trembling. Kiss the Son, lest he be angry and you perish in the way, for his wrath will soon be kindled. Blessed are all they that put their trust in him. All right, look at verse 10. What is this trying to say? Now, therefore, be wise, O you kings, be instructed, you judges of the earth. What is that trying to say?
Worship God.
Well, he's going to say that later, kiss the Son. What's he warning them? Well, I guess gave it away. He's warning them.
Obey God unless you'll be crushed.
Yeah, we need to learn.
If you don't, you'll be smashed to pieces, and he'll do it as easily as us pulling apart pieces of paper.
Yeah, that's a neat connection. Like a potter's vessel, breaking a potter's vessel. Well, don't go find your mom's pots and start breaking them with rocks or sticks. That would kind of be rude. But like just tearing up a piece of paper, right? That's a good way of thinking about it. There's tearing it up. Yeah, don't go break your mama's vessels. He's saying, guys, get some wisdom, get the instruction. And here is the wisdom and the instruction, okay? Verses 11 and 12. Serve the Lord with fear, rejoice with trembling, kiss the Son, lest he be angry and you perish in the way, for his wrath will soon be kindled. There are 3 instructions: serve, rejoice, kiss. What does it mean to serve the Lord with fear?
It means to like respect him, not fear him like you would fear like a monster or something. Just like fear him like with respect. Well,
it does mean to fear with respect, but let's remember what this psalm is saying. God is laughing at you, the bad guy. He is speaking in wrath, and he set up his king, and you are just a pot about to be broken, right?
Yeah.
And I think the message is you do need to fear, as in be afraid, because God does have, well, I'll do it in red. He has power, right?
The powerful, biggest thing you can imagine ever in the whole world, universe, space.
Also a God of love.
Yes.
We know that he's a God of love too. This psalm is trying to remind us he is also a God of judgment that's terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
And when we think about him as a God of love, the word fear is a lot about respect. But when we think about him as a God of judgment, the word fear means afraid. And it can be both. Now, look at this funny little statement. Rejoice with trembling. What does it look like to rejoice with trembling? Usually rejoicing looks like this. And trembling looks like this. So now try to rejoice. It's kind of hard to put those two together.
Maybe you could tremble and put on a party hat or something.
It's kind of, but isn't that a really neat, let's look at the words again. It's a good description. We need to rejoice, which means to be happy and have love and joy for God, even if we have to add it with a little bit of fear and respect. We love God. He's so good. He's going to help us to rejoice. But you know what? There's a little bit of fear. There's a really cool line in one of the Narnia books where they're talking about Aslan the lion.
Being good and terrible.
Yeah.
Like really scary.
Because he's a lion. And of course he's terrible. Of course he's a lion. But he's good. And in those stories, that's a good way of describing Jesus. We need to know that he is someone to fear. We fear God, but that doesn't mean we rejoice.
Mr. Dan?
Mm-hmm.
Another connection is, well, Aslan keeps dying, but he always raises again.
Yes, that's another great connection. Good job. I like that. And so we need to kiss the sun. Do you think that that usually means like this?
No.
Probably it means kissing the feet, which might even sound grosser. Have you heard about that? When the enemies are defeated and they have to come up and they have to bow way down and kiss the foot?
Yes.
How humiliating that would be. How embarrassing that would be. Do you want to kiss your mommy's feet?
No.
But think about it. To kiss the foot means respect. Wasn't there a lady who was so sad about her sins that she was weeping and crying so much that she washed Jesus's feet with her hair, yes, anointed his feet with oil, and kissed his feet? Do you see that love and that respect? That's what this psalm is trying to teach us. To have that love and respect. And why do we need to do it? Well, because his wrath will soon be kindled. Blessed are all they that put their trust in him. If I trust in God, will I have a blessed life?
Yes.
Yes. Does that mean I will never, ever get stung by a bee?
No.
No. I've gotten stung by 8 bees before.
Uh-oh. But it does
I've got stung by 4.
It means that if I am stung by a bee, does that mean I'm going to die and it's terrible and God doesn't love me?
No.
No. It means that even though I'm stung by a bee, I am still blessed by God. And that's the big stuff, right? So, do you want to rage like the nations?
No.
No. Do you want to kiss the sun?
Yeah.
And so use this psalm today to think about, how can I make sure that God doesn't laugh at me? How can I make sure that I honor and respect
him and his feet?
Cool. All right. Do you guys have any questions before we close?
No.
All right. Well, I will go and I will talk to you guys later. See ya.
Bye.